Hey, Buff Nation, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson here. Coming up this week in the Buffalo Stampede, tough week for the Buffs. Basketball opens up Pac-12 conference play, falls at Arizona, and the end of a football season as the Buffaloes get rolled in the Alamo Bowl. That's coming up next on the Buffalo Stampede.
Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado! And the Buffaloes find the end zone. How about that?
Beautiful shot so that Colorado can celebrate.
Here comes Ralphie and your Colorado Buffaloes.
I should take it. Maya's good from out top.
Let me hear you, Buff fans.
She's going to fire the shot. Goal, Buffaloes.
Holy cow! What a play by Colorado! For three, they made him pay.
Stannis fakes the three, gives out a slide down the right side of the lane. Evan Batty squares up. Juke spins, fades, fires, shot, spins, and it goes in. A little bit of English on that one by Evan Batty. And Batty's got 12 points in the Buffs pull within. Well, the Buffaloes had a great opportunity opening up Pac-12 conference play, but they end up with a 14-point loss, 88-74 at Arizona. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Stampede. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, Scott Wilkie, my partner on the Colorado Basketball Network. The Buffs had a big offensive first half, but we're still down 6, 50-44. And then things kind of fell apart in the second half. But, Scotty, when it's all said and done, I think we're talking about defense or lack thereof for the Buffaloes in this ballgame.
Yeah, that's something the Buffs always hang their hat on is defense, and they just allowed Arizona to shoot a high percentage throughout the game. And from the last few minutes of the first half through the end of the game, Arizona really controlled things, especially on the offensive end.
The Buffaloes end up with half of their makes and nearly half of their attempts from outside the arc. I think they're 12 of 26 from downtown. A great percentage, but you kind of got the sense in that ball game it wasn't an inside-out three. It was more of late in the shot clock, I'll settle for a three in that ball game.
Yeah, settling for three, and really kind of like that's the only shots we're going to get is three-point shots because we didn't get any penetration, and they didn't get the ball into the paint and draw a defense that way.
Yeah, that in the paint number, by the way, Buffs were minus 20. It was 38-18 points in the paint in this contest, and 18-0 in fast break points. That's not Colorado basketball.
No, Colorado is a speed team. They got a lot of quick guys. Usually they get 15 to 20 fast break points this year. 0 tonight. That shows that they're not attacking, that they're not bringing that energy and speed to the floor.
Yeah, disappointing because it really was a missed opportunity for the Buffaloes in this one. They now sit at 6-2 in the season, 0-1 in Pac-12 conference play. They've got to go on the road once again, 2 in Los Angeles, a New Year's Eve game against USC and then UCLA. More with Scott in just a moment. We caught up with the head coach, Tad Boyle, after the Buffs fall by 14 in Arizona.
Arizona was better tonight. They deserved to win the game. I mean, there wasn't any question about that, especially the way the first half ended. We let Akinjo drive through 4 guys and get a 3 there at the end. And, we didn't do the little things tonight well enough. Whether it was out of bounds under offense, whether it was spacing, in the second half against their switching defenses. We had some good individual performances, but as a team, didn't feel like we really got things going, especially in the second half, and that's on me. I take responsibility for that. But, we hang our hat on defense, Mark, as you know, and that's the second team in a row that shot 52% or higher on us. And look, Arizona, they played well. Their guards played extremely well tonight. But you give up 38 points in the paint to 18, so you're down 20 there, and then you got fast break points where you get 0 and they get 18. That's 38 points in a 14-point game. That if we even those tides a little bit, it's anybody's game. But we didn't do that.
There's head coach Tad Boyle after a 14-point loss, opening up Pac-12 conference play at Arizona as we continue with Buffs great Scott Wilkie. Evan Batty ends up with a pretty nice ball game. He had 14 at the half, ended up obviously leading the Buffs offensively in this one. He at least came out and gave the Buffs a little punch offensively.
Yeah, especially early. You got a couple offensive rebound putbacks, played with a lot of energy, but typical of earlier in his career when he got in foul trouble, that happened to him again tonight, and he was less effective when that happened.
And McKinley Wright ends up with double digits. He had 10 points, had a handful of rebounds, handful of assists out there. But McKinley, boy, he's such an important aspect of this team. If he doesn't go out and play like Superman, this team can struggle a little bit, can it?
Yeah, the 2 games where he's had maybe subpar games, at least by his standards, the Bucs have lost those games. And, both times those teams had a certain kind of game plan to limit McKinley.
Right.
Down at Tennessee, they had big guards on him and really bottled him up on those screen and rolls. Tonight, Arizona switched all the screen and rolls. So you can tell they're game planning for McKinley. He's going to see a lot of that this year.
Yeah, I think so. The word is kind of out. Tennessee did that. Arizona has done that. The way you counter that, other guys got to make plays, and then it opens things up for McKinley, right?
Yeah, other guys got to be aggressive, be willing to take and make plays for themselves or other people. And if I were playing against Colorado, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I would try to bottle up McKinley and make other guys beat me.
I think the thing that, as you come away from this ball game, and Tad Boyle on our postgame on the Colorado Basketball Network kind of said, you're disappointed and a little bit head-scratching was the defensive effort. And it was little things in this one. I thought Arizona played with a little bit more of an edge than Colorado did.
Yeah, probably a little more energy and kind of confidence that you tend to do on your home floor. But Colorado has to be better defensively. They're not going to be good teams, especially on the road, when you let a team shoot over 50%.
Buffalo's the way this league slate starts for Colorado at Arizona, at USC coming up on New Year's Eve. That's a 7 o'clock ball game, by the way. It's a tough chore for the Buffaloes. They can really help themselves getting a couple of wins in Los Angeles, what they did just a couple of years ago, by the way. That's Scott Wilkie. I'm voice of the boss, Mark Johnson. Buffaloes fall as they open a Pac-12 conference play by 14 in Arizona. Coming up next, we're talking Alamo Bowl here in the Buffalo Stampede. Play in the quarter. There's a pitch sweeping to Jarek Broussard. Turns the corner. He got hit. And his third and fourth effort. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown, Colorado. A pitch and a sweep to the left-hand side. And that's the magic of Jarek Broussard right there as he runs it in from 2 yards out. And the Buffaloes pull within 14-6 with 6:58 to play in the second quarter. Gary, how about the third and fourth effort by Jarek Broussard on that play? Back in the Buffalo Stampede, voice of the bus, Mark Johnson here. The football season has come to an end for Carl Durrell and company as they fall in lopsided fashion, 55-23 in the Alamo Bowl, known by Coach Gary Barnett, my broadcast partner on the Colorado Football Network. And you go through a season the way that the Buffs did, and everybody in college football, it was such a difficult time. And you have a 4-1 record, but then you go to the postseason, you end up with a ball game like this. It kind of takes a little bit of a luster off of what you did all season long, but here we sit with a 4-2 record. You're number one for Carl. Let's kind of get your thoughts on the year, and we can talk more about the ball game in a moment. But, I know you've got an appreciation as a head coach for what Carl was able to do navigating this team this season.
No question, Mark. And I have an appreciation for all the coaches and what they did because every one of them had to go through a procedure and a situation that I've never had to come close to going through. And as I sit here from afar, I wonder how I would do it. I'm sure if I was in the middle of it, I'd figure it out. But from afar, it looks like it's really daunting. And these guys and the players, so much respect for them, the discipline they had, especially a program like Colorado where they were able and eligible to play in every single game they had on their schedule. That takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of patience. These kids are tested 7, 8, 9 times a week, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, and what they go through, and what they had to live in a bubble. So I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of respect for all the coaches, but I have a lot of respect for Carl even more so because of the situation he came into. Never having a spring ball, new head coach, hired late, so didn't get to recruit his guys. So it's, and they put together, I think all of us were shocked at the UCLA game and impressed in the Stanford game and survived the San Diego State game. And then we sort of, we got by Arizona, but then Utah was sort of a little bit of an awakening, and tonight was a real shock. But I think they needed that shock. I told you privately that, I wonder why we're playing this game. It'd be nice just to go in the off season with la-las and everybody happy. But reality, you got to know where you are before you can really get where you want to go. And so I think tonight was just a slap in the face and said, you want to be one of the big boys, you're going to have to change some things.
Yeah, I think we learned a little bit about this team. What do you do as a coach then when you're sitting here now after a game like this? Reality is kind of struck. You know where you're at. You know where you want to go. What do you do with this moving forward then with your football team?
Well, you probably throw up for about 3 hours, and you curl up on your bed in a fetal position, and you go to sleep, and you wake up in the morning ready to go after it. You know, you don't want to read the paper. You don't want to. You just want to go to work. And I mean that you got to go through it. That's the way it is. But you know, you know, you're gonna have a talk with your staff, and you're gonna. Carl always talks in the levels of expectation, and he's gonna tell them what he expects, and he's gonna tell his football team what he expects from this point on, and he's not going to tolerate anything less than that. That's my guess.
Yeah. Well, the Colorado Buffaloes end their season at 4-2 with a 55-23 loss in the Alamo Bowl to Texas. And afterward, your comments from head coach Carl Durrell.
Well, it's unfortunate. We didn't play well. You know, it started early when they had a 14-point lead. There was a couple big plays on the defense, and then offensively, you know, we struggled early on. And I think what gave us a little bit of a spark was when we put Brendan Lewis in. Mm-hmm. And he ended up getting, you know, kind of manufacturing our first score. You know, we ended up getting 10 points at half. We felt like we were in the game and that we had some momentum to build from going into the second half. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. You know, we had a lot of issues with their offense. We had our own issues where we had, you know, with some missed opportunities, with some plays downfield. So we just didn't capitalize on anything. And that's a good football team. You know, so when you're playing against a top 20 program and you're not orchestrating as well as you need to, you know, that's what the result looks like.
Well, there's head coach Carl Durrell following the Buffaloes' loss to Texas in the Alamo Bowl, 55-23. We continue with Coach Gary Barnett. Here's the bright spot we saw for the Colorado Buffaloes. There's a young quarterback that captured Buff Nation's attention, Brendan Lewis. He's out of Melissa, Texas. And, Gary, when he came in for Sam Neuer, there were things out there that you saw a young quarterback doing, but he certainly had the ability to make some plays, and I think he at least piques your imagination if you're a Buffs fan right now.
Yeah, Mark, he ignited that football team. He just produced points is what he did when he went in there. And, you know, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's like a Bambi, but he's going to know. And my guess is he's going to be the guy in charge when they go into spring football, and he's going to get a lot of important reps. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. You know, he's still slight, and he probably learned tonight after running up in there a couple of times that he's going to have to get stronger. But I think he seems to have the personality that the kids rally around. He certainly has the skills. He's not a complete pocket passer yet, but, you know, they can work on that and develop it and shorten his delivery a little bit. He's going to be just fine, but he seems to bring something to this team, at least he did tonight, that you want to build on.
Well, one thing they can build on certainly is Jarek Broussard, who was the offensive player of the year in the Pac-12. He rushed for 82 yards, had a couple of touchdowns in this one. And here, if you've got a guy like that, and you talked during our radio broadcast at Colorado Football Network about that offensive front's got to get bigger and stronger, they got to have depth there. But that's a nice, I think, weapon to have for Carl Durrell moving into 2021 as a guy like Jarek Broussard, coming back now with a year under his belt.
No question. And, you know, Mark, you look at Jarek Broussard and you just go, is that the guy that was doing what I saw on the field? And you have to wonder whether he's big enough and strong enough to take a lot of hits. He makes most people miss him, so he doesn't take a lot. But he's going to need some help back there. He's got to have somebody take a little bit of the pressure off of him. But he's a dynamic guy. He's a Barry Sanders kind of player, and you know, to think that you're going to have that, and a lot of that he did on his own. And so if they can give him some help, and get the offensive line better, stronger, more physical, then who knows what that kid can do. But he certainly was the spark plug for Colorado this year.
Yeah, without question, the Offensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12. That's Coach Gary Barnett. Buffaloes fall in their final game of the year, the Alamo Bowl, 55-23. We'll take a break here on the Buffalo Stampede. We're talking more football after this. 47-yard line. Snap to Lewis. He's going to run straight ahead. Cuts off to his right. He's got the first down. Gets a block downfield by KD. Running at the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5-yard line. Right pylon. Got hit and knocked out of bounds around the 2-yard line by B.J. Foster. There's a 45-yard run. Well, there's a young quarterback, Brendan Lewis, out of Melissa, Texas, and he came in relief of Sam Neuer in the Alamo Bowl. Back in the Stampede, voiced it about Mark Johnson. Colorado falls to Texas, the 20th rated Longhorns, 55-23 in the Alamo Bowl. Season comes to an end at 4-2, year number 1 for Carl Durrell. That quarterback position is going to get awful interesting. Sam Neuer, of course, was a second-team All-Pac-12 selection, but injured, had some shoulder issues, struggled down the stretch, threw 2 interceptions in this ball game. And then Brendan Lewis came in. He was a highly regarded recruit out of the state of Texas. We weren't sure what to expect from him before the ball game. Carl Durrell told us he was going to get probably a series, but as it turned out, he came in and played. He scored a rushing touchdown, completed some passes, sparked this team, and so I think piqued a lot of fans' interest going into 2021. Thought his Sam Neuer may be coming back, being that he's a senior, didn't have to use a year of eligibility in 2020. And now you add Brendan Lewis, what he's done. It makes that quarterback room, I think, kind of interesting going into 2021. He certainly was impressive leading this team in what turned out to be a loss to Texas in the Alamo Bowl. Before this game, we heard from some Buff alums, some of the greats in Colorado history in terms of their bowl experience and what it meant to them playing for the Buffaloes in the postseason.
Well, so I was fortunate to play in 3 bowl games, the Aloha Bowl, the Inside.com Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl. And my favorite memory of all of them was the Aloha Bowl. We played on Christmas Day, and it doesn't get any better than that, playing in Hawaii on Christmas Day. And that was my first CU touchdown. It came against my father's alma mater, Oregon. So that was my biggest memory of all the bowls I was in.
I also got to play in 3 bowls. We went to the Bluebonnet Bowl in Houston when I was a freshman, and that's when I got to play with Michael. And Michael was just coming on the heels of playing with Wizard White in a bowl back in the day he was playing. And then I played in the Freedom Bowl also in California, which was super fun. And then obviously we had the chance to go play in the Orange Bowl. And I got to tell you, that memory of being able to make it with that group of guys that year was, I'll remember that forever. I mean, that was a really, really special team. And I don't have one memory. I have a whole bunch of really awesome memories from that group.
Yeah, so lucky enough to play in 5 bowl games. Well, not play in 5 bowl games, but to be a part of 5 bowl games. That Freedom Bowl that Soup just talked about, that was my redshirt freshman year. And then 2 Orange Bowls, a Blockbuster Bowl, and then a Fiesta Bowl for my senior year. And of course, my favorite bowl memory would have to be a place somewhere in that Orange Bowl National Championship game. And if I had to choose one, late in the game, Notre Dame was trying to come back, and they threw a deep pass down the middle of the field. I was playing linebacker, and I blasted that kid from Notre Dame, knocked the ball out of his hands, kind of ended that attempt at the comeback, and kind of sealed that victory for us. So lots of great memories. Like Jeff, it's hard to pull out just one, but if you force me, that's the one I'll go with.
I'm like Chad. I played in 5 bowl games: an Orange Bowl, 2 Fiesta Bowls, and a Blockbuster Bowl, and the one in Hawaii, the Hula Bowl, I think. Played in that. Some of my memories, I gotta remember the national championship one. I wasn't playing, but just watching Chad and them out there, just doing it. And also the year before, watching Jeff Campbell. So it was awesome watching him, but really watching Chad and being able to play with him all those years. And that's the memory, the 2 years that I did play with Chad. Those are kind of like, I can't sum it up at a bowl game, because just watching those guys doing what they and being a part of it, but also watching it, I just thought it was incredible.
Now, fun to hear from some of the greats in Colorado history, including one of my former broadcast partners, Chad Brown, about their experience playing in the postseason and bowl games at the University of Colorado. Tough one for the Buffs, though, as they end up the season with a 4-2 record, end up falling 55-23 to the Texas Longhorns in the Alamo Bowl. Second time the Buffs have been in the Alamo Bowl since 2016. Coming up next in the Stampede, we're going to put a wrap on 2020 and the Colorado football season. Some great shots prior to the Alamo Bowl down in San Antonio, Texas, as the Buffs fall by 55-23 count to the Texas Longhorns in the postseason game. First time the Buffs have been in the postseason since 2016. I know at this point in time, when you think about this year, that last game kind of sets the tone or gives you that bad taste in your mouth as Colorado ends up with a 4-2 record. But I think you got to have great appreciation for what Karl Dorrell did in 2020 as the first-year head coach for the Buffaloes. First off, he took over the job late. When Mel Tucker left, it was a late transition to Karl Dorrell. Once he got here, about 12 or 14 days after he finally took the job, started putting his staff together, that's when COVID hit. Everything began to fall apart. Buffs didn't have any spring ball, really any offseason, really organized team activities to really talk about. Then they thought the season was going to be canceled before it finally got reignited. In October, they jumped into camp, and yet Karl Dorrell, with that steady hand, I've joked many times about Karl that on a scale of 1 to 10, he kind of sits between about a 4 and a 6. The team reflected that as the season wore on, and really that steady hand kind of guided them through the regular season. They end up with a 4-1 record, and losing the Alamo Bowl, but still a very successful opening campaign for Karl Dorrell and the Colorado Buffaloes as we look back on what turned out to be a 4-2 season for the Buffs in the Pac-12.
Hand off Jarek Broussard. He's down the middle. He's deflected and picked off for Colorado's Carson Wells. They tried Brady Russell. Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado! Everything of that play was.
Here we go. Here we go. I thought you want that action, boy.
They held them up, and they did. The Bruins cannot.
He's
got Arias downfield, makes the grab with a 35, and he's done.
Here we go. Here we go. I thought you want that action, boy. Here we go. Here we go.
And here's a big play for Neuer. Dimitri Stanley's going to take it to the house.
Down in the paint, no dents in the arm of the tank.
Sam Neuer from 7 yards out, and down he goes. Carson Wells knocked down.
Smoke 'cause the muscle strong. Savage, not the average. With the competition, leave him in the distance.
And wide open at the 15, and Brendan Rice will walk it in for 6.
We can go toe to toe. It won't be point for point, more like a smoke show.
First and goal, Buffaloes.
Yeah, it counts to be the boss. Acting like an animal about the cage. Don't let me get my tunnel vision on him. I ain't letting up, don't bother try. Stepping up, it's over for you lames. Y'all looking pretty paranoid, they see the stats.
He's going to run a shovel pass into the end zone. Touchdown, touchdown,
I don't
Colorado.
see no rematch. Only thing that's exact. Take it falls and you do it well. Fold and collapse.
Steps out of a tackle, running at the 20, running at the 30, running at the 40-yard line. It's a foot race.
Here we go.
And big old Terrence Land.
They don't want no smoke, no. Landslide is a long slope. Had your chance and you
By the
choke.
quarterback, Sam Neuer, on a design quarterback run. He followed the fullback.
More like a smoke show.
The interception by Nigel Bethel.
Yeah, it counts to be the boss. Acting like an animal about the cage. Don't let me get my tunnel vision on him. I ain't letting
That right there is why he's one of the best linebackers in America. And a run of 72 yards by Jarek Broussard, who goes over 300 yards in this ball game. And Katie Nixon with a diving grab, and a grab is made by Levante Chanel. End zone! Touchdown! Ring the bell, Maurice Bell!
And nothing going right there. That was a heck of a play by
Picked off for Colorado by Mekhi Blackman.
Rice is going to take it.
There he goes! 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Brendan Rice, the grab on the receiver screen.
He splits two defenders running at the 45, and there he goes! 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Well, there there's a look back at a 4-2 season for the Buffaloes as they end the campaign with a 55-23 loss in the Alamo Bowl. Now we've got basketball to look forward to. Both J.R. Payne and Tad Boyle, the men's team, are jumping into the deep end of the pool with Pac-12 conference play coming at us fast and furious. As we put a wrap this week on the Buffalo Stampede, I'm voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.